Welcome to the Code 4 Couples podcast, focusing on topics for law enforcement officers and couples to keep you and your relationship connected, resilient, and Code 4. Now, your host, law enforcement expert Cindy Doyle, author of Hold the Line and My Wife.
Hey there, and welcome back to Code 4 Couples. I am Cindy Doyle, and today I have Adam Neff on. And Adam talked to me over, I think we were on Facebook or something and talking because I'm in some groups and I was saying, hey, I'm looking for people in the podcast. And Adam talked to me about this topic and I just kind of fell in love with it. He came to me and he was talking about communication is more than just words and active listening and validating feelings. There's more to it that goes on in first responder brains and just our brains in general. I love the topic and we're going to be talking about that today. And I thought it was really funny because part of what he said is, and how it's okay to talk about the F word. And then he put ... feelings. So let me tell you a little bit about Adam. He is the assistant chief of training and operations for a small fire department in Southwest Missouri and has been with the fire service for 29 years. He is also a provisionally licensed professional counselor working towards full licensure. And he has spoken at regional conferences and national conferences on this topic and mental health. So, Adam, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it and super happy to have you here.
Well, thank you. I greatly appreciate the opportunity. You called for guests the first time in our little Facebook group. No, I don't have anything. I don't know. And then I was
Imposter
like,
syndrome coming in.
yeah, it crawls through the window in the back of my head that casts all this doubt. The second time, I think I'm going to. The worst thing that she'll say is no. And I've been told no lots of times. So that ain't no big deal. Here we are.
It's awesome because the fact that you are moving into a second career as a LPC is just super exciting for me because we need more mental health folks to address our first responders that there's just not enough. And so the fact that you're doing that on top of what you are doing for the community as far as working in fire and the training and operations aspect of it, I'm sure that there's some fun in there, but it's kind of cool because you have an influence on mental health too, I imagine.
Yeah, you're never a prophet in your own land, right? And
oh my gosh, my husband tells me that all the time.
It's emergency services. There's no new ideas. It's just the same cycle of stuff. But yeah, what's interesting is in 2017, I took a class that was a train the trainer of preventing secondary trauma for first responders. And the state of Missouri Mental Health Association and some really smart people out of the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department have put this class together and was teaching the train the trainer and had taught it for 3 years. And in that 3-year time frame, up to that point, I was the only firefighter that had started and finished the class. A lot of people started it, but not a lot of people finished it because it was a super heavy, intensive class. And what I found interesting was that even if I was in this inner circle of the fire service, I had a lot of fire chiefs and people come up and say, that's great. We totally want to come have you. I know you'll do this class for free. Could you come over and teach it? I'm like, yeah, just give me some dates. And it never happened.
Crickets.
Then it got real. I found it interesting that even in my own department now, after several years of schooling and kind of being in this mental health network, I'm not really in the network. I'm just kind of on the outside holding the jackets of real clinicians and stuff like yourself. But just now it's starting to kind of come to more fruition, having more fire chiefs and departments reach out to say, hey, can you come? Do you have a conversation or a discussion? And it's super intense. They don't want a PowerPoint on mental health. It's okay not to be okay. That's totally okay. Just don't phrase it that way. Put it in something. A couple of classes that I did during an internship for an inpatient treatment center on conflict communication and feelings. And that's kind of how that was just kind of the next level of what I'd already been doing with communication and conflict and feelings.
I always try to ask and dig here, what is your personal connection to diving deeper on this topic? Because my own personal connection to Code 4 is the fact that I hit the wall, right? And that I'm done. And then I thought, okay, there has to be something more. And I always find that everybody has some kind of personal connection. Okay, I just have to pause right there because he just took a sip of his coffee, and I
Yeah.
swear that is stepbrothers on your mug, is it not?
Yeah, it
That
says,
is,
did we just become best
did we
friends?
just, sorry, it's random, guys, but that is one of our favorite movies.
Yeah,
My husband can quote everything from that movies,
it
and
is
I
at
do
our
that too.
house,
So
and I will
we may
send
have just
you,
become best friends
you
because
may
of
have,
that.
but I will send you the picture of my daughter's Halloween costume from a couple years ago. I won't tell you
I
what
would
it
love
is,
that.
but you'll love it. I know.
Let's go back. What is the personal connection here for you?
On the conflict side, or for the communication, or the mental health stuff, mental health?
The conflict and the communication, because that's what we're diving
Yeah,
into,
absolutely.
right?
So
Yeah.
that really kind of started. So I come from a single parent home, and I always said when I get married, I'm doing it once, and that was it. Met my wife, we got married, and I found it very interesting. And it didn't take me very long to realize I didn't really like the way that we argued or fought. And because she would say something like really hurtful and then leave. And I'm like,
Oh,
I forgot to take out the trash. Why are we talking about divorce? And I never could comprehend, and I never could quite understand why something seemingly small and insignificant, the reactions didn't match the incident, if you will. And
mm,
I'm still in the fire service. And
mhm,
early in my career in the fire service, I really desired to help people develop into whatever it is that they wanted to be in the fire service. And I quickly identified that my passion is leadership and development of people, taking complex systems and breaking them down easy so they're palatable and understandable and they could be applied. So, with all of that, had my marriage going on the left side, and then my professional career on the right side. And a lot of times those things intermingle, particularly with communication and conflict and feelings. And I don't want to paint this rosy picture, because in that time frame, I had some really unhealthy coping habits and strategies. So I was struggling in a lot of aspects to be seen, to be heard, to be able to get my point across. From my own childhood experiences, I was working way harder than I should to try to communicate value, which I
mm,
think is rampant in the emergency services. I really started kind of looking this intrinsically when I became a father, and how do I get my, child to do things or impress upon the importance without getting louder or meaner or bigger, because I don't have to be. So that's kind of where that personal connection really started with my wife. And I give her so much credit. And if she was here, she'd be like, it's not me, it's you. You did this. But I
that's
really
awesome.
do give her a lot of credit, because a lot of that confidence that I didn't get as a child growing up, support and love, and not to say that my mother didn't do the best job that she could, it just wasn't there. And a lot of those things, when I got into the fire service, I devalued a lot of other things because it wasn't the fire service. It wasn't
Mm,
important. Grades aren't
mhm.
important. My extra job, people, all those things. Really, that communication and conflict really came from, first started off in my marriage, and then just really fully developed through the job. And then I was able to come back and apply some of those things that I learned in my marriage from the job, and then just keep meshing those things and building and learning.
And so noticing the problem and realizing, I mean, you said so much because you're
Yeah.
talking about kind of even your own insights. Initially, I'm sure you didn't have those insights. And so it was only after you started kind of realizing what's not working. And then I love that. I always love when people are, and then I realized the stuff that I was learning
Oh,
at
you
work,
almost
I
said
could
a bad
apply at
word.
home. The shit that I learned at work, I'm learning at home. I don't know why I adjusted and edited myself. I swear all the time. But yeah, so I get that. And it's so important in that you can impact your family. And one of the things you talked about is how do I get my kid to, and I don't want to go that too far down that road, but just
Right.
how do I get my kid to respond without getting larger and bigger and scarier and using maybe that authoritarian spillover? How do I do this differently? And
Yeah.
so for you, it was about how do I do relationships differently too, is what I was
100%.
hearing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think,
Go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead. No,
Nope, go ahead.
you, me. Okay. Real quick on the kid part. I'm a big fan of going with what I know. And I know that my daughter, and I use this example when I teach and then when I present, that as a child, her only desire is to make dad proud. That's it.
Oh,
She
yeah.
is not a chess player, right? She's not doing things to get at me, even though it feels that way. I promise you, her brain doesn't go, if I leave this out on the counter, it's really going to get under dad's skin.
I
So,
think that is going to be an Instagram quote on my carousel.
okay. I think when I looked at it that way, and I could have this kind of like 400-foot view, right?
Mm-hmm.
That if I go with what I know, and my daughter's only desire is to be proud, to make me proud of her. When I go, hey, we need to clean your room, we're going to go to town, and she picks up all of her stuff in her room and does what kids do. They shove it in the closet and they shove it underneath the bed. And I come back and check on her, right? I come back and check on her, and she is beaming with pride because I did it, Dad. You're going to be so proud. Until I open up the door and look underneath the bed. Now, if I've communicated my expectations to the very best of my ability, and I know that her desire is to only make me proud, where's the miss? The miss is in the process. I didn't spend a couple more minutes explaining everything needs to be in its place. Everything needs to be where it belongs. Now, if you fast forward to our firefighters or our law peace officers, our relationships, if I don't want to be cliche, but if I don't assume, right? If I spend a couple extra seconds communicating expectations and then maybe even showing them if I need to, then everything is going to be better received. Feelings aren't hurt. They're not feeling like we let people down. All of those things come about. We have leaders, both in life and relationships, that are feeling like they're communicating expectations and communicating effectively. We have people that truly want to do the best job that they can, but we still have a miss. And the miss, I think, is it's a process issue, not a communication or a desire to be successful issue. Sorry, now I'm done with my toddler.
No, I mean, when I was listening to it as you went along, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I let Adam just go with this because what you said was really important and I think leads into or actually unpacks what you were wanting to unpack in this communication situation because you're talking about being clear in expectations. And part of that is everybody has a different interpretation. We're just using your daughter as an example. And she's like, I mean, the floor's clean. Isn't that what we're going to do? And her motivation, right? Her motivation was, let's get this done. Let's make daddy proud. It's all cleaned up. And as a child that did shove everything under the bed, I understand
Same.
that. What do you mean? My floor's clean. You said, get
Right.
this floor cleaned up. I got the floor cleaned up. And how there's a different process that we can all use to do that. Can
Right.
we dive deeper on that? Because part of what you said when we were talking is that the brain is involved and that
100%.
we really need to understand how the brain is involved when we're communicating.
Yeah, I love it. Let's take it another level. Like you said, why do I use the story with my daughter? It's relatable. Either you
Absolutely.
have kids or you did it yourself, as you mentioned. And if I'm trying to take this complex system and make it understandable, make it palatable, it has to be relatable. Can you connect with what I'm saying? And I noticed this a lot with when I got into clinical part and started working with people. It's a humanistic experience. When
What do
we're
you mean by that?
when we feel we're depressed or we're down or our job sucks or our relationship sucks, we feel like we're alone. We can't talk to anybody because we don't want to bring them down. We don't want to portray that I'm not good enough, that I'm not capable of having a good marriage, a good career, a good parent. So we just kind of sit in it all alone, right? And then we feel isolated because we see Instagram and social media and Tiki-Taki and Snappy Chatty and all those other things. It's all good. We feel alone. But when I work with clients and we can role, you want to role play real quick? This will be way
Sure, I'm
fast,
all
I
for that.
promise.
I
Great.
mean, come on,
Right?
counselors, we
I
all role play.
know.
Sure, yes, let's do it.
That was easy. So if you were sitting down across from me and I don't really know anything about you. I mean, I Googled you and that kind of stuff, but listen to some other podcasts. But if I was a betting person, I would say that you're a problem solver by nature. That's what you do. Is that a fair assessment?
Okay.
And they say, yeah, because everyone
Yep.
identifies as a problem solver.
Right.
And then I would
I think we all
say,
do.
yeah, and I would follow it up with, you probably don't take compliments very well either, do you? Don't like to be the center of attention?
Nope.
Have a hard time people recognizing your accomplishments? Yes. But yet
Yes.
you're in this weird conflict where you want to be recognized for doing a good job, but you don't want the attention, right?
Right. Mhm.
Now, if we stop the role play, any of those things that I said, do you identify with?
Absolutely. Probably
Okay.
all of them. Yes.
Humanistic experience, it's relatable. You and I are now
Mhm.
connected on a level because you feel like you've been seen. Now, it's not a
Absolutely.
script that I give everybody. It's real life. It's
Mhm.
real life, especially when you're working with individuals in this line of work, because I'm just doing my job. Hey, thanks for your service. What do we do? What do we say? We say, no worries, just doing my job,
Right.
which
Just
is
doing my job.
totally devaluing, right? When we should be saying, you're welcome. But that feels weird and clunky. Communication is weird in that aspect. Diving down to that next level, we think about that experience with my wife and our relationship early on. She did what she saw. That's her only basis of experience. I didn't realize, because I'm a guy, and this may not go over well, you may have to edit this out. Because I'm a guy, I'm stupid. And being a married guy, I tend to believe that I'm the center of my wife's universe. If she's upset, she's clearly mad at me because I'm the center of her universe, right?
Well, guess what? That's not just a male thing either, by the way.
Right.
We all think that. I think we all think that if somebody's
Right.
upset, it must be with us, right? And so many times it's actually, I had this situation just this week, and I said something to one of my police clients, and he emailed me 2 days later, and he's, okay, now I'm thinking you think less of me because of this. And I'm, what?
Yeah.
And I didn't say that. I said, okay, let's pretend that it wasn't about you. And
Yeah.
oh, wow. Okay, let me think about that one.
Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah. It
think we
stops us
all
in our
think,
tracks.
and I think that even as kids, right? I think that's where it starts a little bit, in the sense of
100%.
it's, well, if mom or dad or whoever, or then it must be about me. And that hard
Right.
wiring gets wired in,
Yeah.
right? When your
Right.
boss says, hey, I need to see you in my office, the hard wiring is, I'm in trouble, right? Yeah,
100%.
I get it. Mhm.
And I think when we get to that point, when our spouse looks at us and says, are you okay?
Mm,
And we say, or oftentimes the response is, I'm fine, right?
mhm.
Okay. Well, why are we asking? Because intrinsically, our partner doesn't look okay. We notice somatically, body posture, body language, things are amiss. And instead of us honoring that, and because we're guys and gals, but again, relatable,
Mhm.
we tend to keep picking. Tell me, tell me.
Yeah.
And then it is about us. And that's okay, because now we know what to do. I need to clean something. I need to fold something. I need to apologize. I need to do something, because as a person who cares for other humans, I want to take that pain away, right? I'm a problem solver. That's what I do. Let me take that pain
Right.
away. And we work back from that. And because our spouses or kids or husbands, partners are in distress, and we don't want to see them in distress, we go right into strategy to get them out of pain or discomfort, because society and cultural and all those things that we've been told, pain is bad, uncomfortable is bad. It's filled with guilt, sadness, shame, just the gamut runs down the list. And we just keep doing that. And what happens is it continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And oftentimes our partners and spouses and people that we care about, fellow humans, don't even know.
Mm.
They know that they have an unmet need oftentimes, which has been shamed filled in the past because it gets labeled as overreacting, throwing a tantrum, you're really taking this too far. I mean, there's a whole slew of things that gets communicated. And I think observationally, I think it comes back to an unmet need that we don't even know where and how it lands.
Mm.
And because it's overwhelming, we don't know what to do with it. What we end up doing when our ever loving spouse, partner, human keeps picking at us, we just throw everything out because we don't know what to do, which gets labeled as a tantrum, overreacting, etc., and see what sticks. And then we work back from that. When I work with folks on communication, conflict, and feelings, we talk about being skilled and unskilled. And if you're unskilled, then you are becoming skilled, which means you have to be skilled for both. You have to be skilled for yourself, and I have to be skilled for my partner who is unskilled. Not dumb, not stupid, not any of those things, just unskilled, right? I work from a standpoint of challenging and really chasing down some of those things that kind of reoccurring to come up. Why do we repeat ourselves? Because we're not being heard, but we talk slower, talk louder, and we keep repeating ourselves. You're not listening to what I'm saying. No, I am listening to what you're saying. No, you're not.
And then we get louder.
And we get louder. And we get frustrated because we're not being heard. And somewhere in our brain, in our experiences from childhood to adulthood, that has happened more than once. In that experience, we forget some really basic things. Ask clarifying questions. Hey, just so I understand. Or what I heard you say was. Now, some of this is really kind of ironic because it's therapist skills 101, right? Rephrase,
Right.
reframe, paraphrase, use I statements, those kinds of things.
Reflect.
Reflect, yeah. And ironically enough, those are probably some life skills that should be taught in high school and interpersonal dynamics, which isn't covered, right? But then we double down and make it worse for convenience using Chromebooks and laptops to communicate in school. When these young people get out of school and there's conflict, they don't know what to do with it, and they just shut down, isolate, disassociate. They do all those other strategies. And as adults in older generations, we do the same thing. We just call it different things, right?
Yeah.
When we're mad, we actually don't say that we're mad. We actually say, I'm frustrated, or I'm not mad, I'm disappointed, which are all synonyms for being mad. But we don't want to fully commit to that thing because again, that's kind of filled with some shame, right? We're not allowed to be mad. It's okay to be frustrated, but it's not okay to be mad.
Let me kind of summarize what you were saying. See, one of
Yes,
those
please
core
do. I was on a
clinical
side
skills.
quest.
There you go. You were on a side quest. What we have is we have that picking that you're saying. You said as the human experience, because I think that's important. As humans, we have the desire to connect. We see someone who's maybe struggling or in pain. We approach them and they say, I'm fine, which we're all conditioned to say and do. And then our spouse or whoever is connecting with us picks and picks and picks. And because maybe we can't identify our own needs, or we don't know, we are the unskilled, skilled version, whoever that is, that then it just comes out. And what that person who's trying to fix it is really looking for is, how do I fix your problem? As
100%.
opposed to maybe, how do
Yeah.
I listen to you? Right. And I
100%.
think that's what you're saying is that as humans, we are conditioned to fix. And then let's bring in the first responder aspect of
Yeah.
that, where your whole job is to fix things. Move into a little bit about how is the communication of the brains of the first responder different in
Yeah.
communication than maybe somebody who's not been involved or maybe doesn't have clinical skills like you and I too.
Sure. I think kind of reflecting on when I present classes on communication and conflict resolution, I tend to lean more towards some generalities, but also very specific when it comes to emergency services. As a side note, I'm just not a fan of the term first responder. So I like to use the term emergency responder because it's just, I think words matter. And I think when we're talking about that group of people, law enforcement, I know your husband's a cop. Well, some similarities and there's some differences, right, between law enforcement and fire.
Absolutely.
And there's
Mhm.
differences between EMS and law enforcement and fire and dispatch.
And let's
and
not forget our
diverts.
dispatchers.
Right, absolutely. Dispatchers
Mhm.
have by far the hardest job because it's
Mhm.
always their fault. You'll never see the police department or the fire department say, this is on us. Nope, we're going to point the fingers to go, if we had better information, if
Mhm.
if they
Mhm.
would have told us, right, it's never going to land on our shoulders. I always say that to have the most difficult job.
Yeah.
Right, we're very similar, but we're very different. It's like apples and applesauce, right? They're close, but they're not the same. And
Mhm.
when we think communications, we're very similar. Tell me what I need to know, right? So my little toddler story of my daughter, well, she's 17 now, right? And she gives me the rundown of what's going on in her life and school calendar and all those other things. And she gets done on what's going on in her life. And I just simply look at her and go, is there any part of that that dad needs to do? She's like, no,
Mm.
I'm just telling you. Okay. Similar to long, great podcast that you and your husband had. I listened to that one more specific so I could get a better understanding of what I was getting into for clarity. I don't want to accidentally cuss and then it'd be like I'd be shamed.
Nope. Nope.
But I think similar just to facts for us in the fire service world, I'm not scanning for criminals. I'm not scanning for people to hurt me because that's not realistic in my world. Does it happen? It does,
Right.
but not to the same level or where I'm always on guard.
Mhm.
So when we talk about problem solving or getting to the facts, we don't want to let the team down, right? And team is our partner. We work
Right.
in teams. Everything we do is in teams. Other
Mhm.
emergency services are jealous of our teamwork, especially around the dinner table. They're really mad that we get to sit down and eat at a table. Haters gonna hate. Should have scored better on the test.
What you couldn't see, what you couldn't see was my face shaking and going, mm-hmm, that's
Mhm.
exactly. They are all
Yeah.
jealous that you get to sit around the dinner table.
Yeah, we have Thanksgiving dinner at the firehouse, not in a squad car or the gas station parking lot because we're
Right.
posting or in this dungeon of a telecommunications
Of computer
center.
screens.
Yeah.
Right.
I think when we get into that part, we don't want to let the team down, right? We have high confidence. It doesn't matter what it is. I often say jokingly now, I was pretty somewhat serious joking early on, but I used to say, I'm a fireman. I'll do whatever I want. And people would be like, oh, hey, wait a minute now. Well, hang on a second. It doesn't matter if I'm on duty or off duty. As soon as someone knows I'm a fireman, they'll say, don't worry, Adam will take care of it. He's a fireman. So it works when you need me. It just doesn't work when I want to maybe take a
Mm,
parting gift of a plant home from the office that no one sees me. We have high confidence, and high confidence comes from the fact that we know when we get on the apparatus, we're going to win. No matter what, we're going to win. And if I don't have the ability to win, I call for more help. And
right.
even if I lose and our patient dies or house burns down or whatever, I can still compartmentalize all the successes up until that point. And then I can almost communicate why we didn't win. Well, late notification, they tried to put out the fire before they called. There's all these things that come up. So we have high confidence. And it was funny when I was going through, this is a quick story back to Step Brothers also. When I was going to find a college for my graduate degree for counseling, I just applied for online schools with my schedule. I could not do a traditional
Mm-hmm.
brick and mortar school.
Mm-hmm.
So I applied at Northwestern, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna apply. And I came out after my application and talking to the recruiter, and my wife's, who'd you apply for? And I said, I don't know, someplace in Chicago. But I thought it was really close. So if I have to go to campus for intensive weekend or something, we could just drive there. Won't be no big deal. And she said, well, what's the name of it? And I said, Northwestern? Yeah, that's it. She's, oh, I'm so sorry. What are you talking about? That's a Big Ten school. I don't want you to get your hopes up. It's fine. I'm a fireman. I'll do whatever I want. Right? They waived their
I'm going to
application.
win.
Right? I'm going to win.
That's
They
what I heard you
waived.
say when you say I'll do whatever I want. Your
100%.
mentality is I'm going to win.
I'm
It's
going
all
to win.
good.
Right.
Yeah.
And they waived the application fee. So it hit two big things for me, right? It's close by. I don't have to spend a lot of time driving, and it was free. That's emergency services 101.
Win.
Is the food good that they give you at the firehouse? Is it free? Yes, then it's good. That's how it goes, right? I applied. She tells me, I still don't comprehend how prestigious Northwestern is.
Northwestern is, yeah.
Yeah. She goes, guess who gets an interview? She goes, I just want you to get your hopes up.
If you
You
don't
don't
get
get a
in,
call back. I get a call back to a second interview. And she's, of all the people I know, you would be the one that would go to Northwestern. And yeah, I did the second interview. It's a group interview. I was clearly the odd duck out of the group, but long into the short, their program was online and you had to sign in every day at the same time. It wasn't at your own pace kind of a thing. I didn't get in. I couldn't have gone anyways, but I didn't realize until watching Step Brothers how prestigious Northwestern was when he was talking about his new stepdad. But I think that confidence, right? And we're going to say single thought, but we're very procedural. We're very methodical in our thinking, right? With fire service, people that are in emergency services, a variety of things. But even in that variety, there's structure, there's procedural, there's really not any deviation when it comes to the normal daily stuff. Like every day I
yeah,
get to the firehouse, I know that my firefighters are going to do X, Y, Z, and it's lined out on every single day. And then we're going to sprinkle in some emergency calls. We're structured, even though we have this portrayal that we're laissez-faire, take stuff as it comes. We're really not. If we can be honest with ourselves, when I started seeing clients and working for my counseling center, I struggled in some of that because my supervisor was like, we're writing notes, and I write reports for 20 years. Writing notes is not that big of a deal. It's really not. I can crack out 2-3 paragraphs of stuff. And my supervisor's like, well, do you feel like that's supportive? I don't really know. I'm new. You just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. I just want to do whatever is supportive to you. Yeah, it would be supportive if you just tell me what you want me to do right now. That would be
right.
helpful.
Yes.
Kind of working through all that and self-reflecting and going, why am I struggling? Why am I having such a hard time with this? That kind of that bridge over. And I think also that's why some of us struggle when we get to that our this and then
Mm-hmm.
the structure, and then we realize the rest of the world doesn't operate that way. I don't know if you
Right.
saw, I came on, I had to fight myself from coming on 30 minutes before the time, just so I
Oh,
wouldn't
no, I
be
didn't see
late.
that.
I actually fought myself and I only came on 15 minutes before time. And I'm just sitting here, I should be doing something, and it's not a control thing. I just want to be ready. You're counting
That's a
on me.
condition thing. It's a
100%
condition thing that
condition
you're going to
thing.
be. Okay, here's a couple different things that I want to pull out what you said in
Yes.
here. So if all of our listeners kind of get some nuggets here.
Right.
So the first thing, which I think is as much as you say, by the way, I love emergency services. I think
Yeah.
I might start using that as long as you don't think I'm stealing it from you.
It's copyrighted TM. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. Well, dang.
Any of my stuff is free.
So when you think about emergency services, I don't think that idea of winning, I think it's across the board, right? Because
100%.
you want to win. And if you've listened to some of my podcasts, folks, that my husband and I had a whole thing. He talked about, oh no, in our communication, it was about me winning. And I wouldn't
Right.
necessarily know that we were in an argument. We would just be talking, but he had to win. So whether it was the last word or some type of win in there. But here's what I like that you said as well, is that you said that, and if I don't have a win, is kind of what you said, I compartmentalize it and I can justify the fact of, well, they didn't do their part, which is blaming. Right. Instead of
100%.
taking ownership. And I'm thinking about conversations, and when we're talking about communication, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, if there's not a win, if I don't have a need that's met, right? We're talking about that as well, that I sometimes compartmentalize if I didn't meet the need, or I justify, well, you didn't communicate that need clearly to me. It's your fault.
Right.
And so a lot of that brain aspect of emergency services is kind of like, it's on them, right?
100%.
Because if you ran around and took ownership for everything, my God, y'all would be basket cases, right? I
Right.
failed, I failed, and you can't do that.
Yeah.
That plays along in our communication then
Well,
too.
yeah.
I also like that you mentioned about structure and kind of listening for what you need to do. Like, what's my part of this?
Right.
And that you were like, somebody can give you orders. You're like, just tell me what I need to do. And so that also plays in as well when you're talking about that communication in the brain.
100%. 100%. And
Yeah.
I think back to a big part of that confidence comes from, well, why would we go if we don't think we're going to win?
Wow, I never thought of it from that
Right?
angle, but you're so right.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. All of this comes into play when we are communicating as a
100%.
couple. And so
100%.
what are some of your recommendations? How do we change that? How do we have more
Mm.
awareness? Or what do we do different to make our communication as a couple more successful and from your standpoint?
Okay. So this is where the F word comes into play at. Feelings.
Feelings.
Being vulnerable is a big part, right?
Okay.
Particularly society and culturally speaking, men, even in 2023, aren't allowed to be vulnerable or because it's construed as being weak. And if we were being super honest, I think the overwhelming majority of our spouses, partners who say, I just want you to be more open or more vulnerable with me, also are communicating in some aspects that, you know, I don't want you to be. There's a certain level that I want you to be. And if you go past that level, then it's counterintuitive, right? We're still that role of that protector to do stuff, right? My wife is experienced social worker, so she doesn't have an LCSW, but she's been in
Mhm.
children's social work for before it was required that long. She'd be mad at me if I called her a social worker because that's how we are, right? You don't have the credentials, so I don't get to call you that. But so when we're talking about those things, particularly about what to do, she can go into places that she doesn't even take law enforcement with her. She's got a clipboard, that's
Mhm.
it. But she can't take stuff back to Target because that's a conflict that she doesn't want to have to deal with. That's my
Mm.
job, right?
Mhm.
There's certain roles, even in 2023, and I have very strong, independent women in my house. I promise you. But there are
Mhm.
certain things that's my job. If she's having a hard day, she takes it out on me because I don't want her to take it out on her kid, right? And I'm skilled, so I know it's not about me. It's about her job. It's about
Yeah.
her stuff going on in her life. What we can do in couples, both sides, both for the emergency responder and both for our spouses, is to be vulnerable, right? To be honest, getting a little choked up here, but I can text my wife and I can say, I'm going to need a hug when I get home today,
Mm. Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And she'll ask me, and it's weird because if I don't look at you, I'll be all right. But if she'll ask me, are you doing okay? And I'm, no, I am not maintaining. And then when I reflect, I'm not working out, I'm not eating good, I know I'm not sleeping good, I'm not drinking enough water, all those cliche things that we know we're supposed to do, but by God, no one's going to tell me what to do. I refuse, right? Just out of spite. But if we can be honest with where we're at, if we can be vulnerable, just even in our own, I'm going to get a drink.
You do that.
Mm. Even if we're in our designated safe spaces, our homes, sometimes it's our patrol cars, sometimes it's our fire truck, sometimes it's our post location, wherever we feel safe at. Even if we don't feel safe in front of our partners being honest and vulnerable, I'm a huge fan of journaling and
Mm.
being able to purge that container just a little bit so we're not overflowing. And a lot of clinicians, as you know, say journal and journal. And a lot of times we forget to explain why journaling works. Those emotions come from the big right side of our brain, right? Our left side
Mhm.
is the organizing structure part.
Mhm.
The reason why journaling works so well is because it's also an art form, writing, but it's also taps into the left side so we can not get overwhelmed with our feelings. We can still stay organized and somewhat controlled. I think when we're working with our spouses and our partners, being honest, vulnerable, even if we don't know, I don't know, I'm feeling a certain sort of way, and then be clear in our communication, and sometimes more than we should have to, that it's not about you.
Mm.
Taking a deep breath because the brain can only hold a single thought at a time. And if we're high emotions, that means logic is low. That's why we can talk to people blue in their face and they are not hearing us because they're feeling highly activated, they're overwhelmed, they're high emotion. A strategy for if we're in this big argument, I like to communicate about taking a break, right? And if we were to role play again and we're in this heated argument and I say, you know what? You're really over emotional right now. Your logic is way low. Let's take a break. Well, that's going to go over like a turd in a punch bowl,
Yes,
honestly.
it is.
And yelling that always helps. So what I communicate was what can we do to take a break that would be acceptable and yet get us to where we need to be? And I always encourage folks to say, listen, this is really important to me. What you're saying is important to me, but I need to go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
That generates a break.
That is a guaranteed break.
Guaranteed break. And go to the bathroom. And I always tell folks, if you come out and your partner, fellow human, spouse, whoever is sitting next to the door waiting for you, say that you forgot to wash your hands and go back in there and close the door. It ain't time. You need a little more time. If they come out and they're playing on their phone, it's safe. You can come out, you can resume conversation. Emotions have come down, logic has gone back up. And we see this to be relatable. We see this in our kids. They're upset about a math test. Now, I know as an adult, that third grade math test will play no part in my kid's life. But in that moment, that's the biggest thing. And what do we do as parents and fixers? We don't want them to be in pain. We say, don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How devaluing is that? That's huge.
Yes.
That's like $4,000 rims on a $15 Honda. It doesn't make sense, but that's not me. That's you. That's all you have. Why would I take that away from you? And I don't have to solve her problems. My daughter and wife are very smart. I can say stuff like, wow, that's really hard. What are you going to do about it?
Showing them some empathy is really what that is.
They don't need me to
And
solve their
connecting with
problems.
them and the feeling, right? That's so hard not to solve the problem.
It is hard. It practice, right? We get in this thing that we've had these problem solving strategies for 29 years, right? And I'm all of a sudden supposed to forget all of that and go right into, tell me about that. That sounds really hard. No, it takes practice, right? It's a learned behavior. You're not going to dump survival strategy in a day. We didn't learn how to ride a bike in a day. It's probably going to take us to be in touch with ourselves longer than a day. And even with that wife or spouse or fellow human we're picking, if I simply communicate after they say fine, and I go, okay, well, I see you. And when you're ready to talk, I'm ready to listen. And you just walk away, break the wrist, walk away. That's Napoleon Dynamite. We were on a movie kick there for a second, but
it's like break a wrist,
break the wrist, walk away.
Break.
Yeah, Rekwando.
Oh, now I get it. Yes, break the wrist, walk away.
You just say that.
Napoleon Dynamite.
You want to be there for your partner. You want to take them out of pain. The best way to take them out of pain is obviously, if you could solve it, you would, but you can't. And that's hard for high confidence people to say, you can't do that.
Oh, that's such a good point. Yes, high confidence. You had just got done saying about, I'm going to win. Right. So I can't solve this. And that is hard.
Super hard.
To sit with that.
And as skilled, we can communicate, hey, I don't need you to solve this. I just need you to listen. And that seems really simple to do. But man, it is so hard when we're in that moment because our brains are activated, right? We go right back to our parents arguing, a missed opportunity, making somebody somewhere, coach, teacher, someone impactful, making us feel small. I mean, because a lot of our interactions with people is not unconditional, right? It's transactional. Yes. So we get into this, I only have value if I'm doing something for you. My wife and I were at a bad spot. And then I realized at some point, we're better than we've ever been. And my wife had said the same thing. We couldn't figure out why, right? In our 23 years of marriage, at that point, we were 15 years, but in 15 years, this is the best it'd ever been. And I couldn't figure out why. She couldn't either. We just knew it was better. Well, I had taken that class that I spoke about. I had done some internal realization that, man, I have a mental health problem and I didn't even know until someone told me. It's not appropriate to drink copious amounts of alcohol. It's not normal to sleep 2 hours a night. It's not normal to eat a meal in 3 seconds, right? And then I realized that, man, when my mom remarried when I was younger, I never fully committed to my relationship with my wife because what runs rampant in the emergency services? Divorce. So I identified to some level that to be good at my job, it's going to cost me my marriage because almost everyone I knew of was also divorced.
Getting divorced.
I come from a divorced household. That's normal for me. That's not abnormal. And then when my mom remarried, some of my own child abuse, verbal abuse from my stepdad ramped up. I disassociated. I became detached. And when I got married, and I did enough, but I wasn't fully committed until that point where we were sitting there going, holy shit, this is better than it's ever been. Because I accepted. I didn't get over. I accepted some stuff.
Yeah.
Was able to fully commit.
And I would even argue that you got vulnerable with yourself, because it's
100%.
highly uncomfortable to trust that this person that you love is going to be with you all the time.
100%.
Right? That's a big part of it too. Our own feelings, our own childhood, our own needs. I'm going to circle back to the very beginning when you were talking
Yes.
about needs. Our own needs are a part of what causes that drive. You mentioned somatic, and so somatic, for everybody listening, is a physical response within your body
Right.
that you have a drive or a need. And many times those drives or our needs dictate how we interact with our partners. If I
Right.
have a need to connect or not feel I'm failing, or if I have a need to not deal with this at all, I might walk away. Let me go through again to kind of point out some of the things that you said. In order to do this differently, right? You said be vulnerable. State your feeling, right? If
100%.
you have a need or a feeling, be vulnerable with that and talk to your spouse about it.
That goes
Be
back
honest.
to going what your wife loves you, your partner loves you, that they support you, then it's got to be, you have to try. You have to say, I think at the root of this, my wife loves me. If I can't be safe with her, if I can't be vulnerable with her, then I got some other work to do. 100%. Go with what you know.
Yeah. Go with what you know. And it's what are the non-negotiables, not non-negotiables, but what are the truths? That's kind of what I'm thinking of, is what's the truths right now. There's a truth that your wife loves you. There's a truth that they're there. There's a truth that they support you. And that helps you to become vulnerable. Be honest with it. I love that you said, I don't know. It's okay to say, I don't know what's wrong, or I don't know what's going on. I just feel off, or I feel scared, or I feel like I'm going to throw up, or right. Because it can be something in our bodies. It doesn't have to be like I have to label it with an F word.
100%.
Like how I cycled that back around.
Yeah.
That F word. I also love that you said it's not about you, because here's why. If I know that you're struggling, Adam, you're struggling, and we're having a conversation, and you look at me and say, it's not you, it's not about you. And I've learned to do that in my relationships with my business partner and also with my husband. It's not you.
Right.
I can be present in a different way, because now my nervous system is not reacting to the potential that something's coming down the pike or that I'm in trouble. Now
100%.
I can go, oh, okay, well, let me just be here with you in a different way, right?
100%.
You said breathe deeply, and that if there is a need to take a break, that bathroom breaks are a great way to insert that. That is a great little tip and a tool and a trick. I love that. And if somebody's right there waiting for you right outside the door, just go right back inside. Oh, I wasn't done yet. I need to wash my hands, whatever that is. I love that little trick. You said, you didn't say this directly, kind of indirectly, that value the emotion. Don't just, you were talking about your kiddo and your daughter, and if that math test is a big deal, it's a big deal. Don't just discount the emotion and what's going on. Don't try to squash that. Just keep valuing that emotion and recognizing that it's difficult. And then I love that you said, if you approach and there's not a connection there, break the wrist and walk away. I see you. I just know that it looks like you're struggling. And when you're ready to talk, it's fine. Break the wrist, walk away. Those are some really great tools and tips for when we're talking about communication in our relationships. I also really like the idea of the mindset, we wouldn't be going to a call if we didn't think we could win. And that win and that high confidence is something that if you are an emergency services individual person, or if you're married to one, it's something to consider that is present probably in the relationship. And when you're talking with your spouse, you need to remember that one way or the other, and have some consideration for that mindset as well.
100%. Yeah. It's really in being on this intrinsic journey of myself for 8-9 years now, I can see areas where, yeah, they were missed opportunities, man. I wish I could go back in time. And I think when we talk about some of those things that happen, particularly in our relationships, pillow talk is a big thing, right?
Mm.
And when we're struggling, we tend to overwork. We tend to lean into those strategies harder. We don't have to sit with things. We'll we'll work to exhaustion. We'll drink until we pass out. But one of our best times as a married couple is that 20 minutes or so in bed in the morning before we get up for the day, right?
And just making that a time to connect.
Just connect. It doesn't have to be big things, but you still have to make an effort, right? You still have to put forth an effort. And it's not the same at night, but at night we tend to ruminate a lot, right? Replaying the day's events, past events, shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Another strategy, if we're avoiding or getting anxious, worked up about going to bed, then that journaling tool, or you and your spouse just spending a couple of minutes processing or talking about the day, about things, so you're not allowing those things to run through your head. And we're avoiding going to bed because then that's the only time we have to sit with it, because we're go.
Kind of dumping it before we go to bed so we can have a clear mind, and if you do wake up with your spouse, or whenever you do have that quiet time with your spouse, be able to connect in that way as well.
Yeah,
right?
100%. Yeah, it's about quality, not quantity, right? Little
Yes,
things
I totally
equal
agree.
big
I think we
things.
have to look at that in our lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, my
making
wife
sure that
quit.
quality of time.
My wife quit coming to the firehouse because every time she would come, I had to go on a run. So I'm not going to drive 45 minutes to see you at work. We went to phone calls after 5 years of me being on the job.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, Adam, thank you so much for joining us. I love this topic and this idea of looking at it through a different lens and depersonalizing. You've made some really good points about, hey, all that communication, it's not always about you, right? We all have our own needs. We all have our own feelings, and they might get entangled a little bit. And taking a break and the tools and techniques that mindset of the winning mindset, and making sure that we're aware of that confidence that gets in the way. And then also, what do we do to counteract that? Or what I say is counter it, right? It's counteract, or have that counter to what's going on, and using all of those, making sure we use that Napoleon Dynamite quote.
Right,
So,
right.
if people want to get a hold of you or connect with you in some way, what's the best way to do that?
I'm on Facebook. That's probably the easiest. They can obviously email me too. Will you post the email, or do I need to say
I will post whatever you would like me to in the show notes.
Yeah, just my
So,
email address would be fine. They can email me if they want to talk more about it, or if they're interested in, I don't know, I like doing podcasts. It only costs me a couple hours of vacation, so it's no big deal. I think sometimes we turn down the platform because it's not the platform that we want. It's the platform that we're given, right? And I totally wanted this platform. But I think as we're wrapping up, I just want to remind people to give themselves grace, right? It's not about perfectionism, right? This is a practice skill. I had a deal a couple of weeks ago, and even with lots of practice and lots of skills, we can still fall. That big button can get pushed really easy. And I was showing a friend of mine something, and my wife had made a comment, and I fired something right back. And I walked into the other room, and I came back, and I actually gathered everyone's attention that was in the room. There was about 6 or 7 people. And so I just want to highlight that I felt very attacked. And my only response in that moment was to attack back. And I shouldn't have. That was a me problem, not a her or my wife's problem. And I just want to apologize to my wife. That's being vulnerable. That's displaying. We have to model what we want to see.
Yes. And a big part there too is that because it happened with that group, right? Because it happened in public, apologizing in front of that group makes it
100%.
so powerful to your spouse.
Yeah.
Giving yourself grace that we're not going to be perfect in this, that even you, when you're looking at, I'm not perfect either, but even as you're working on that, this is always a work in progress, that this
100%.
communication is always
Yeah.
a work in progress, to give yourself grace and then go repair, right?
100%.
Repair, to go
Have to
apologize
repair.
and do it in a way
Yeah.
that is maybe uncomfortable, but that honors the relationship
Yeah.
in your spouse.
Success,
Perfect.
it's not a measurement. You reach the goal. Yeah, you
It's not a,
reached the goal, but yeah, the real life effort is success. So
yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you, Adam, so much.
Thank you.
I will put Adam's email in the show notes if you want to get a hold of him. I assume that you're accepting new clients at some point in time too. I know you're working on your licensure.
I
So-
am. I see clients in the evenings and on the weekends because I still
Yeah.
work full time at the firehouse. So I'm doing both. I absolutely love it. You made a mention, and I greatly appreciate the acknowledgement of working from being in this culture of emergency services and then bridging. But I also think that we need to do a better job of believing that emergency service workers are relatable to non-emergency worker clinicians.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And I'm working on a class now to help clinicians be better working with first responders, emergency
I do
service
that all the
workers,
time. Yeah.
because they are making some. I work with trauma. It's not the same.
Yeah.
I'm trying to build and develop that. They can reach out. I love connecting, and even if it's not with me, I know a lot of cool people that I can put them in touch with. So I'm not so egotistical
Very
to
good.
think that it's only me. So
Yep.
yeah.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank
Adam
you.
Neff, thank you so very much. And like I said, I'll put his contact information. Hopefully y'all gained a lot from his perspective on communication and how to connect in that way. So thank you very much, Adam.
Thanks.
And until next time, guys, keep it code 4. Talk to you later.
Thanks for joining us. For more information about the podcast or Cindy, check out code4couples.com. All intellectual property rights owned by CRLD2 Ventures, LLC, are protected by the firm of 9mm, 45 ACP, 5.56mm, and 12 gauge.